Some places hold memories, others collect them. But in the quiet, fog-covered town of Greyfield, there is a place that does something far worse. Sight whispers them back. Long-buried secrets, hidden shames, quiet sinsel spoken in the dead of night, by something no one has ever seen, but everyone has heard. Tonight, I'll take you to the edge of that ancient stone mouth, where the voices never stop, and the truth can drive you mad. This is the story of the whispers in the well. Listen carefully. It might already know your name. They say the well in the center of Greyfield was dug before the town had a name, long before the first settlers dragged wagons over the hills and claimed the valley as their own, when the land still belonged to the fog, to the crows that circled for no reason, and to the strange stone structures older than memory that jutted from the soil like broken teeth. It was there then, the well, sunken and hungry, breathing the same damp air it does now. Even as the town grew around church steeples and brick houses rising from the dirt like tombstones, unaware they were orbiting something ancient and aware. No one knew who first dug the well, but the earliest records from 1781 mention it already standing, fed not by rain but by something deeper, something that never ran dry, not even in the worst droughts that cracked the earth and killed the crops. It gave water, cold and clear, but people whispered that it took something in return, that those who drank from it too often would begin to change their sleep, filled with whispers, their thoughts tangled with guilt, their shadows bending just a little wrong in the twilight. By the time Greyfield was incorporated in 1823, the townsfolk had already begun to avoid it, sealing it with a wooden cover, nailing planks across the stone rim, and posting signs, "Do not approach after dusk." But wood rots and signs fade, and every few decades, some curious soul would open it again, stare down into that endless dark, and listen. In 1996, Ellie Simmons, a 17-year-old high school senior with a curious streak and a voice like cracked porcelain, disappeared on the night of her birthday. After telling her friends she was going to make a wish at the old well, a local tradition turned dare, her friends never heard from her again, and her parents filed a missing persons report that gathered dust like so many others before it. But that night, and every night after, something changed in Greyfield. Soft whispers began to seep from the cracks in the well's cover, rising like steam in the cold, curling around the ears of anyone foolish enough to walk the town square after midnight. At first the whispers seemed like dreams, echoes of regret, faint murmurs like wind through the trees, but soon they grew louder, more pointed, naming names, revealing secrets no one should know. Jonathan Griggs, the hardware store owner, was found, weeping in his back room, his wrists covered in shallow cuts, sobbing about the child he fathered and abandoned in another state. Reverend Whitaker interrupted his own sermon to scream obscenities no one believed he knew, shouting confessions about his brother's death that had been ruled an accident decades ago. People stopped walking near the well, even in daylight. But the whispers traveled through the sewer grates, through rusted pipes, through radio static and baby monitors, seeping into homes and minds. Children woke screaming, not from nightmares, but from knowing things they couldn't explain, how their mothers once tried to run away, how their fathers cheated, how death waits in the attic or the bathtub. Psychiatrists were brought in, priests blessed the town, and skeptics laughed until the well began speaking to them, to murmuring old sins they thought long buried, drawing them back to stare into its mouth like moths to flame. The town tried everything: a cement seal, an iron grate, a warning fence with motion sensors, but nothing stopped the voices, because the well wasn't just a hole in the ground, it was alive, a presence that remembered every secret spoken, every whisper it had ever heard. In 2002, librarian Jack Palmer, a well-known skeptic, decided to spend the night beside the well with nothing but a recorder, a notepad, and his favorite flashlight. He never came home. Days later, the tape arrived in the mailroom of Greyfield Public Library. No return address, warped by water and heat, but still playable. The recording was an hour of whispersome in his voice, some nodal revealing horrific truths. The time he lied in court and sent an innocent man to prison. The time he stole medication from his dying mother. The night he stood outside a woman's house for hours, watching her through binoculars. His body was found a week later in his attic, hanged with a belt, a mirror propped up before him with "I hear them too" carved into the glass. The town was never the same. Stores closed early, people moved away, children were home, and a kind of dread settled over Greyfield like permanent fog. The mayor stopped attending town meetings. The school counselor stopped speaking altogether, and the whispers grew louder. Teenagers, ever drawn to danger, began sneaking out to the well with their phones and recorders, trying to go viral with haunted audio. Some captured nothing. Some caught a single chilling sentence spoken in their own voice, and some never came back at all. Police stopped investigating the disappearances, claiming lack of evidence, but everyone knew the town was rotting from the inside, not from poverty or crime, but from knowledge of things too personal, too dark to face. Then came 2010, when a documentary crew from New York came to Greyfield to investigate the haunted well, led by director Amanda Kell, known for her hard-hitting exposés. She scoffed at the warnings, claiming the town was delusional, a classic case of shared hysteria, and demanded full access. The crew filmed interviews, drone shots, night vision footage, but during the first overnight shoot, Amanda vanished. Her crew found her camera at the edge of the well, lens cracked, footage intact. What they watched made them weep. Amanda staring into the well, whispering confessions about her father, about a baby no one knew she lost, about the time she let a man die in the cold because she didn't want to get involved. Then she smiled, stepped closer, and was gone. The crew left Greyfield the next day, but none of them ever worked again. One by one, they were found dead, drowned in bathtubs, overdosed on sleeping pills, crashed into trees they never tried to avoid. The footage was never released. And so, Greyfield emptied, houses boarded up, grass growing over cracked streets, and the square where the well sat became a wasteland of silent ointel. The night a young man named Ezra Holt, a writer chasing myths, arrived to document the truth. He pitched a tent near the well, lit a campfire, and waited, journal in hand. He claimed he wasn't afraid, but by morning, Ezra was found half-conscious, eyes wide open, mouth torn as if he'd tried to silence himself with his own hands. His journal was covered in frantic writing, page after page of one phrase: "It knows what I haven't done yet." That was when the whispers changed. They no longer just repeated secrets, they began predicting. They told people what they would, do what they wanted to do, the things they would never admit, even to themselves. A mother heard a voice tell her she would drown her baby, and 2 nights later, she almost did. A teacher was told he would drive his car into a crowd, and he crashed into a bus stop the next day. The town begged for helper animal investigators, government officials, even fringe cultists, but none stayed long. And now, they say the whispers have spread through water lines, through recordings uploaded to the internet, through the soil itself. Other towns are hearing them. Other wells are whispering. A woman in Montana drowned herself after her faucet started speaking her father's voice. A boy in France carved a message into his wall in a language he'd never learned. It listens, beneath your home. And still, the Greyfield well remains, untouched, undying, waiting. The trees around it have twisted, the birds avoid the square, and the air tastes like metal and old breath. The well doesn't just whisper, no, it calls. It sings lullabies made from sorrow. It speaks in voices you trust. It promises forgiveness. If you'll just lean closer, it doesn't need you to fall in. It only needs you to listen. And once you do, once you hear your own sins echoed back in a stranger's voice, once you realize the secrets you've buried are not buried at all, are remembered, you'll understand the truth. The well isn't haunted. The well is memory itself. and it remembers everything. You've heard the story. You've walked the abandoned streets of Greyfield, leaned over the rim of the well, and heard the whispers crawl into your ears. But don't be too quick to shake it off. Because if you listen closely tonight, when the house goes quiet and the wind slips under the door, you might hear something too. A voice that knows your past, or maybe your future. And if it doesn't, answer. Just Don Single, quotes. Thank you for listening. Until next time, keep your secrets close and stay far, far away from the well.